are MakilalaTV, the first Filipino-American TV talk show in the New York metro area. Get to know us as we talk to the community leaders, innovators, advocates, and emerging artists who affect Filipino-American life.
The upcoming presidential election will road test a new voting trend that Asian Americans are identifying more with the Democratic Party. A study by the Asian and Pacific Islander American Vote cited a 12-point surge since President Obama was reelected in 2012. Is this shift reflected in the Filipino-American community? Do we now vote more Democrat than Republican? Why? Do you think the November election will validate this? We have invited two members of our community with very strong political views. Aries Dela Cruz, who is the president of the Filipino Democrats in New York. Welcome to the show, Aries.
Thank you.
And Consuelo Almonte, an advocate for the rights of the elderly and a fervent Republican. Welcome to the show, Connie.
Bless you.
And of course, my co-hosts, Jen Fuhrer and RACHELLE Ocampo, will have a lot of questions. Let's start with you, Aries. Do you think Filipino Americans are voting more Democrat?
I do, actually. Since 2012, there has been a historic, overwhelming shift of about 30 points from the Republican Party to the Democratic Party.
How do you explain this?
From the studies, it seems to indicate that when Filipinos see someone who, a candidate who supports sort of anti-Muslim views, they tend to want to vote for the other candidate. And so in this particular election, that's looking like Donald Trump's comments and sort of a general sentiment of white nativism among the Republican Party is pushing Filipinos towards the Democratic Party.
Yeah, but in 2012, Donald Trump was not emerging as a politician yet. So how do you explain the trend from 2012, 2008, and then 2012?
Sure. So what is actually interesting about that trend is Filipinos used to be the Asian American group that was most likely to be Republican, at least as far back as 2012 and certainly as far back as 2008. Donald Trump is an indicator now of where the Republican Party is, but he is nothing different from what the Republican Party has always been since that time, and Filipinos are beginning to recognize that.
That's right. Connie, do you agree?
Well, naturally, New York is a Democratic Party. It is
But this survey is nationwide.
Yes, all the surveys. Anyway, Donald Trump has always been misquoted and being changed by the media. The fact of the matter is that if he says ban the Muslims, they stop there until we know who they are, which means they will have to be vetted. They are not banned completely. When they say they're going to build the wall, it's not because they want to build the wall. You look at Europe, it has a borderless, and what everybody is going there.
That's
Number three, I believe that there is also Mexico had also built a wall at the end of them to eliminate people who are coming here from South America.
But going back to the survey, Connie, it looks like Filipino Americans are voting more Democratic than Republican.
Yes, because
Are you happy with that?
well, I mean, what happened is that the Filipino voters should listen and should not just vote for loyalty. That is the problem. People are voting for loyalty without knowing really what the sides are. So that is my
I think
take.
also the media and social media, they're leaning more Democrat, liberal than conservative. I give you an example. I subscribe to Amazon.com and I get all this most read news, and I keep seeing it every day, and I go like, and it's all anti-Trump, to the point that I actually, I was talking to my husband and said,
Isn't that a reflection of your profile? I mean, isn't that what you get on your news feed is a reflection
no,
of
this
who
is
you
from
are?
email, and then it says that, and every single news from Washington Post, New York Times, to the point like, am I like, he was being featured like he was like the next Antichrist. So, but I'm saying like,
Hyperbole.
but it's just like your news feed is also it's more liberal, and the country, I think U.S.
more
is turning more liberal, and it's harder for I think maybe that's why Filipino Americans are leaning towards being a registered
So
Democrat.
really, do we get affected
Because
by
they
what we
live-
read in the media?
They lead the hyperbole. One word is being advertised by the media into something else that
Well,
makes it feel
let's start with immigration, which is
Yeah.
very important to Filipino Americans. For me, there you go. It's very important. I mean, my
Absolutely.
family, well, we were here 20 years. Granted, we came here illegally. I mean, we came, we overstayed, we hooked up with bad lawyers. I mean, wrong use of word. We hired bad lawyers, and they got deported. 10 years later, they're still banned. You think that, you know, for 30 years, the Democrats and Republicans have been in office, that we would have a comprehensive immigration
You would
policy.
think, right? You would think.
But no, I mean, we had the amnesty, and more people came in and
Yes,
overstayed.
the amnesty of
right?
Reagan to stop all the immigration so that everybody will come legally.
And then,
Sevenfolds came back illegally. And then it's so deep. Now you want amnesty? You must remember that the United States in general is feeding out all this amnesty
I don't think
problems.
amnesty is a popular option right
Yeah,
now,
it's certainly
right?
not a popular
It's
option.
not
And
an
it's much
option.
more
And
than
during-
ideological. The
Yeah.
reason why Filipinos, in my opinion, as a president of a Democratic club, which is obviously biased, but it's much more than ideological. It's much more than what the media is telling them to believe. But the Democratic Party is the party of citizenship. It's the party of a pathway to citizenship, and that's what Filipinos want and need.
okay,
Absolutely.
isn't pathway for citizenship the same way as granting people amnesty?
No.
Okay,
a-
do you
a
have
blanket-
11 million Filipinos? I mean, how many? I forgot. You have 11 million
Undocumented.
Undocumented.
immigrants in this country.
Yeah.
I don't want to, you know, if being detained and being deported is such an awful thing. But at the same time, if we don't enforce laws, more people will go through
As a matter-
what we
That's
went
right.
through.
As a
Absolutely.
mother.
And
So-
that's exactly what the purpose of Hillary Clinton's immigration plan will be to provide a process, a legal process, so that they're not outside of the law, so that no one is breaking laws. It provides everyone with the legal status.
That's
And what is
absolutely
the-
correct. But for the last years, 8 years, what has he done about the immigration? He was in power for 16 years.
You mean Obama? President Obama?
No, Hillary Clinton.
Oh,
She was in the office of, she has not done
she was
anything.
with
on
the
it.
State
He's
Department.
talking, it was the State Department. He could have done something about
What
it.
is the plan
Well-
that Trump or the Republican Party has for immigration or comprehensive immigration
That they will
plan?
go back, which has been before. Also, when I was here in 1968, people can go back and get their visa. If they are immigrant and they are brought by the deported, they can go out of the country and get their visa there. Some goes to Canada
I
or
think that's
something.
the essence. That's the essence of this pathway to citizenship.
Yeah.
That is
The
being
They
thing
have
is,
to
we
go
have
out
that
first.
1996 Illegal Immigration Act, which was signed by Bill Clinton, that if you overstay here for
Go out,
a
you
year
come back.
or more, you have 10-year travel ban. And no matter what, you know, that's why my family has 10-year, travel ban. After 10 years, they still can't come in an easy way.
And we have a question for both Connie and Aries. What do you think are the hot button issues for Filipino Americans in the current elections?
It is definitely immigration. I can tell you that that's the top issue for Filipino Americans,
Filipino Americans.
particularly from that survey that you cited earlier. President Obama's actions for the children who were brought here by their parents illegally, he has what's called DACA, which is an executive action that at this very moment is keeping 4,800 Filipino children in the United States and gives them a legal status. And he also put forward the deferred action on parents, which is sort of a similar process to DACA for parents who have children who are American citizens, but the parents are not citizens. He's now seeking to keep them with a legal status in the United States. And if we have Donald Trump as president, he wants to end that and immediately start a deportation task force to round up both children and their families and put them in immigrant detention centers and have this deportation task force send them back to the Philippines, where families are now experiencing waits of up to 23 years for a
That's
visa.
right.
There's a visa backlog, and Trump wants to extend that or keep that program going.
Connie, what is the
this-
hot button issue as far as the GOP is concerned?
As far as the GOP is concerned, it wants to start something which has been started by Reagan before, that
Which
there was
is?
amnesty, and now the amnesty created more people. And as a matter of fact, I myself have personal experience that some people come here, not Filipinos, because Filipinos are assets to the United States, as a matter of fact. They come here
Very
to give
nice.
birth. They just want to give birth here so that their children will become U.S. But I think they should.
We Filipinos do that too.
Well, I know, but it's a favor for the United States.
That is our point of view. Yeah.
You mentioned something earlier that the Republican Party have that white nativism. What did you call that again?
Yes, it's white nativism. It's the idea that this country is only made for a certain kind of group.
That is what they propagate, but that's not true.
Really?
Why does the Filipino American Democrat Party believe that that's what Republicans stand for?
We believe that that's what the Republicans stand for because when you ask Filipino Americans, would you support a candidate who wants to ban all Muslims from entering the United States, I believe it was 60% of them would vote for a different candidate. That is why, at this very moment, only 14% of Filipino Americans identify as Republicans and 54% of Filipino Americans identify as Democrats. The rest are independent. And for those who are independent, I believe it's like 46 to 56% of them identify more closely with the Democratic Party, even though they are independent.
That is because there is a fearmonger in the media that everybody will be thrown out and then all these things. But you have to have so many channels before that can happen. It doesn't seem that, if I am black, I am white, there are so many different ethnic groups, and it applies to everyone. But you know what? You have to realize that there are many steps to be able to do. When they say, ban all the Muslims, they forgot to say all those who, when we know who they are, they have to be vetted. Everyone has to be vetted. But the media announces this, and everybody's so scared. They say, "Oh my God, they are all against Muslims."
The
But
media.
it's not something that the media is just reporting. It's something that he has actually said.
Well, he
has
said that, but
he
you
would like to
forgot
end
to say
all.
you forgot to say that until we know who they are. That is the most important thing. When you tell this to some people, they don't understand this.
So is
Well,
there a
that's what the
failure?
visa- that's what
Is
the
there a
visa
failure
process
of
is, isn't it?
communication on the part of Donald Trump?
It is not no, there was no communication. It was very clear. He said, I'm going to ban the Muslims that come here until we know who they are, what they are, which means everyone else, not only the Muslims, they have to be vetted. And it's extreme vetting. You see what's going on around the world, and it's happening in the United States. You are my neighbor. I know that you're a Muslim and you are an ISIS member. Of course, should I talk about you? No, because my family out there will be the one that will be killed and will be targeted. So the Muslims themselves should be the one to go against this. But they are quiet about it. Why? Because they do not want also, they have reasons. They do not want to say, oh my God, my neighbor is... So this is why you have to be very sure that the people that come here, they are already here.
They
They're
are.
not- they're already
It's
here.
really funny
National
because the media is being blamed for a lot of this bias
Because
for
they
or
twist
against.
the words
So
out
who
of context.
do you believe in, Connie? Where do you
Well,
get
you
your
have to
information?
listen and you have to look at and Google it if you want.
I think
That is still media, Connie.
Yeah, you
I
have
think
to-
that
you
is
have to
still
read more
media.
than one
I think
You
that's
have to
the
read
point.
both
Yeah.
sides of the story, and
You
it's
do.
very blatant. I'm telling you, the Hillary case is very blatant. And just because she's a woman, just because she's a lady and she did a lot of whatever she did, it is blatant that all the things against her. First of all, let me just say, Afghanistan pulled out, the agenda of Obama was to pull out
Of Afghanistan?
of Afghanistan. He announced, I am going to pull out the troops when I get elected. He pulled out the troops. And what did you think they did? They just waited. The
So
ISIS waited for that. Now he says, I'm going to send 50,000 or 50 ISIS in Syria.
is
What-
ISIS
they just waited.
is
So that's
ISIS
what
a
they did.
concern for the Democrats, or it's
Yeah,
not on
I
the
think-
top?
I think
It
there should
falls
be the
within the
concern
area of security. Security.
Yeah,
Security
it's
is
certainly
the
a
most
matter
concern.
of national security. Hillary Clinton wants to negotiate, with
Negotiate?
Syria and Russia
And
to
Benghazi?
to bring a lasting peace to that region. Whereas Donald Trump has a secret plan to end ISIS that he's not telling anyone
He's
about.
not going to announce
And he
it.
also thinks that he knows better than the generals about
Oh
exactly
my God,
what
those are
to do to.
hyperboles.
He actually
Hyperboles.
said, no, he specifically said, I know better than the, it's not hyperbole, those are his actual words.
He really said that comment.
Yes.
Yeah, he
And-
said.
Yeah. And he-
But
he
if you are a
also-
fool, if you would listen to that, because people talk, and he said also that sometimes at the height of
So
anger, you
he
don't.
says something and we
So
shouldn't
maybe he's
listen
not,
to him?
because Donald Trump is not a politician.
He is not a
I mean,
politician.
he should
is-
know by now. It's
Yes.
been a year running.
He tells
But
what he
doesn't.
thinks. He doesn't
Yes.
think, oh
And
my
one of
God.
the things that he thinks is that Saddam Hussein was a great leader, and so is Vladimir Putin.
But remember, the Second World War was won with, with Russia. It is always good to be able to have association with others. So
Okay.
now, this is
He
the
actually-
question.
He actually said that Saddam Hussein is a great
I
leader.
never heard
Yes,
that.
he did.
I never
I'm
heard
gonna
So
that.
in
Google
any
that
case, I just wanted to bring up the fact of like fact checking. When you were saying, okay, blaming the media, media's bias, but I think it's important to understand both sides
Absolutely.
and not just always go to like a hyperbole of an issue. So for me, whenever I'm fact checking, it's not just going through my news feed because I know already what I like is obviously going to be
Absolutely.
algorithm
Yes.
to
Yeah,
what I
yeah,
want to
that's
see.
right.
Yes.
So I would
Listen to all the
I
sides.
would look at both sides.
Yeah.
Yes.
And now I'm actually purposely liking things that will help me understand both sides.
Yes, and that when you vote, you have to think of your conscience, the security of your country, and I'm telling you, this country will not be the United States after this. It will be something else.
Whoa.
That's what
So
I'm
what
that-
is that?
That's my personal.
That's a very
that's-
bold statement.
That is my personal feeling, and you can buy it and you can't, but
Okay.
you can see
It's
it.
just,
Alright.
it's just like so painful that it's become like a very emotional
It
It has.
process.
Yes.
We had it in the Philippines election, which is so emotionally divisive. And then this one, I can't wait till December. November 8, whatever.
Yeah.
Because
Anyway, I have a
it's-
question for Aries. Aries, how do you explain the Clinton Foundation to the skeptics? Because I am not yet convinced that the Clinton Foundation is above board to some extent. I'd like to know more.
Sure. So every nonpartisan and independent rating organization has given their highest ratings to the Clinton Foundation. And the work of the Clinton Foundation is to go around the world and do good things like providing HIV/AIDS medications to children and folks in Africa. In contrast, Donald Trump lied about contributing $1 million to veterans foundations that he never actually materialized those things. It actually was much less than that.
The issue I have with the Clinton Foundation is the granting of access. When she was Secretary of State, there was a lot of people, influential donors, who wanted access.
Yeah.
And reports are telling us that the access was not granted. I'd like to know more. Was access really ever granted at some point? I think there should be a lot more digging going on in that area, right?
Absolutely. I think nonprofits should be accountable to the public, and they should be as transparent as possible. But again, all the independent charitable watch groups looked at that foundation, and they always have given it consistent A ratings or top ratings. And one of the things that Hillary Clinton has promised if she becomes president is that the foundation will no longer do any international work
Because-
and will
That's right.
focus all their efforts in the United
Absolutely.
States.
That's
Why?
right.
May I
Why?
say something? The reason is
Sure.
because she's not going to, well, if she's not the president, she got all this donation because of the goodwill that the people out in the country gave him donations so they have access to the State Department. This is really...
But they're saying that access was not granted at all.
No, there were some. You should read the news that Abedin is the one that is screening all these things.
Yeah.
And there's no law that you cannot donate.
Yeah.
But if you donate because you expect some kind in return, then that is unethical. It's a very unethical kind of practice. Now they're talking about
Ideally,
the Donald Trump.
According to the Clinton side of the story is that they did not grant access to anybody in exchange for donations.
I think we should see the emails.
Okay.
Number two, there is a laureate, that is the Clinton Laureate University, that is just known. Laureate, you should check about it. He is making $17,600 pay for being a chancellor of that all over the world, this Laureate University.
This is Hillary or Bill Clinton?
Bill Clinton.
Oh, Bill Clinton.
Okay? So
He
I
is
mean,
not in the running in this
but
election.
never. Oh my God, you're going to have two, and nobody heard about this. Only very recently when they gave their
Oh, so,
IRS.
okay,
Yes,
so
I've never
who
heard
is-
about
I've
that
never heard about
university
it
either,
also.
but what I
spoke
did
to-
hear about was Trump University, which has scammed and conned hundreds of
so
Americans.
Trump,
out
Excuse me,
there.
let me talk about Trump University. People who were complaining were because they did not learn anything and they were scammed. Now, if you go to university, you might be the most brilliant person in a university, but if you don't study, if you are just there because you want to learn something, if you don't use it to do practice, how can you blame the school?
So I have one question going back from being a Filipino in New York, as a registered Democrat, as a registered Republican. Since New York is known to be mostly New York Democrats, how do you feel as a Republican being a minority and feeling like, does your vote actually count?
Yes, I don't know, my vote may not count, but let me tell you,
You still have to vote.
we have to vote. We really have to vote because you see what happened. Clinton, Hillary is the Democrat is dependency. Dependency. The Republican wants you to work, wants you to earn, wants you to take risk. This is just a simple thing I'm just talking about, and this is the big difference. In Republican, so many are just waiting to be given all the social benefits.
You
and
mean a
this.
Democrat?
The Democrats.
Democrat, okay.
As far as the, when you
You're
give
talking about the
something,
food stamps.
well, even food stamps or whatever, SSI or something like that.
okay.
That's it. Sure, we have to be very, very kind to them. But you must remember that these things are being taken advantage of at the cost of you and my taxpayer. So this means to say that you have to be trained, you have to work, but the Democrat says, oh, they are very unkind, they do not want us to do this, this is what happened. I'm just talking in general terms. not
And,
specific.
and Aries, what do you feel? How do you feel about people who don't want to vote either Clinton or Trump
Oh,
because
no,
they
no.
say that
They don't
none of them
Yeah,
are
they don't
that's
open
right.
their mouth.
candidates?
They both have baggages, political baggages.
They're like
yeah.
it's
They didn't
worse
rather
than
not
two
vote.
evils. Like
Yeah.
I think one of the things I can definitely agree with Connie about is that it is important to vote, that your vote matters, no matter who it is you vote for, actually. One of the things politicians look at when deciding whether to adopt a certain point of view or to provide funding for a certain neighborhood is the rate at which that neighborhood or community votes. And so when you have low rates of voting in the Filipino-American community, that actually hurts us. It means we can't get funding for senior centers.
And we have a low rate voting record, right?
Yes.
Oh, really?
Yes.
What is the percentage? Do you have the
I
number?
don't have it offhand, but the fact that we have low rates of voter percentage means that we are less likely to be contacted by political campaigns to work for them or to donate money or have contributions or volunteer for them. And so it's really important to vote because it shows the strength of who we are as a community. Even if it's a local election that you may not know enough about, you should just ask someone who you think knows. Ask a friend who's involved in politics. Who should I vote for? What do you think about that? And make your best informed decision and vote anyway. Even if it's in New York, where it's likely the Democrat will win, it's likely Hillary Clinton will win. The vote is much more than who wins, but the whole community wins when we vote in general.
So, Aries,
Absolutely.
if Donald Trump is such a distasteful politician, why is he giving Hillary Clinton a run for her money? Why is there such a tight race? Shouldn't this be, in the bag for Hillary at this point?
Well, this answer is going to be a critique to the media,
Oh
which
my
is
God.
that, well, it's that in the U.S. we have what's called a first past the post electoral college system that tends to mean both parties are made to be the opposite of each other, and that's what the media makes them to be. And so it tends to divide the country into those two things, and it makes it seem like it's very close. It's like 50-50 between the two candidates, even though that's not actually the case. It's 50-50 because that's what the constitutional and electoral college system makes it out to
Yes,
be.
but let me just also interrupt. I'm sorry.
Okay.
You must remember that even if the populist vote will be Trump, the electoral college, you must remember the electoral college, the super PAC that have been fed with money and all these things and privileges is the one that will count. And the super PAC is going to be for Hillary. So you don't expect anything going to change because this super PAC, the electoral college, I'm sorry,
The electoral
college
yeah.
are the ones that are the one who will determine who will be
That's
the
right.
next president.
That's
I mean,
right.
as it is, Hillary has a plus on the electoral college. 'cause
Absolutely.
there are more Democratic states than there are Republicans.
Is that
Absolutely.
correct? Yeah.
I
Absolutely.
believe so. I'm not 100%
Yeah.
certain, but I believe
Yes,
so.
that is what happened. And why is it that so? Because you know what? She has all the influence, and she has used all her opportunity as to be able to get all this electoral college.
But isn't influence how politics works? You're supposed to influence the public to vote for you?
Well, you
That,
That's
this
what
is the
Donald Trump is
corruption
doing.
camp.
Donald
However,
Trump's doing,
Donald Trump funds his own campaign. I mean, to say.
That's what he
That's definitely
says.
not- that's
That's
not
what he
true.
says. That is not true.
That's
You
not
know,
true.
he's been fundraising all over the place.
Well, he's now fundraising because he funded himself on the primary. But now, it is already not the primary.
You see-
Now
you
he has,
see,
everybody has
he
to
makes
show.
a lot of these claims, and I don't understand why people would.
And I don't
believe in
understand
all of
also,
this.
and I also don't understand why don't people can see how blatant the emails that even goes to the Benghazi thing. It's this claims he's not
I
responsible.
think the
She's
Benghazi
not
thing is a manufactured claim.
Oh, really? She's the toughest person on the world of the United States who should be able to listen. And she didn't hear about it. She didn't know about it. I mean, how can she claim that way? I didn't know about it. How can you not know you're this, for the Secretary of State?
I think we were having a conversation when the email went out. And,
Yeah, the email, I think,
And he
is,
even said that it's kind of surprising. I'm not sure that it kind of like skirts the law just a bit.
I think
But
a lot of
Because I think that's what most people think, that they always get away with something.
Yes.
You know, that's the attraction of Trump to me, huh? Because
But
he
it's not
wants to
Trump's.
shake up the establishment. I like that part of his candidacy, that he wants to shake up all
everyone
these
always
things.
says, I'm going to
But
vote for
then
Trump because he says what everyone else
he
is
needs
afraid
to
to
be
say.
more.
He's not a
He needs to have
politician.
more integrity when he says these things.
Yeah.
He's not a politician,
You know?
but whatever he's saying will never, he says all the hyperbole, I'm going to do this. But
he
this is a
also-
democratic country.
But
There will be so
Connie,
many steps before it can,
Also,
he
his
tells you what he wants.
background has a lot of shady things
Oh,
behind
yes.
him.
Okay, let me talk about his bankruptcy. He is a businessman, and he will do what he can to make within the law. He filed bankruptcy, but that is allowed by the law, and that is why he was able to go up.
Okay.
Everything that he does is because he's a businessman. Now he's a politician.
What do we say to the Republicans who just do not believe in Trump being president, but they believe in the Republican morals and
It's the same thing to say with Democrats who don't believe for Hillary,
Yeah.
and yet they follow.
Exactly. Like,
Okay,
what
great.
rules?
Thanks, guys. I will have to cut this short. This is really a very engaging discussion, and I'd like to thank our guests, Aries and Connie, for a very engaging talk. We should ask for an extension, right? It's
I should hope
interesting.
that when I go out there, nobody's going to jump at me.
You are divided not only along partisan lines, but also along generational lines. But that you speak with one voice when you urge Filipino Americans to go out and vote.
Yes.
To our viewers, we leave you with that thought, and also to think very carefully who you vote for. Thank you for watching Makilala on Manhattan Neighborhood Network.